everybody. This is Diane, your 40-something zombified creature who is filling in for the 30-something zombified creature because Brian is once again traveling for work. And I am joined by...
Marnell, your temporary permanent fill-in co-hostess of Last Resort.
How's it going?
Good. Really good. Yeah, I enjoyed this episode more than I have the past couple, so
I'm just going to warn everybody, I'm solo tonight, so my dogs will be serenading you tonight.
And I still have the two little ones in addition to my two regular ones, so you might hear little yippers.
Because we are the Real Housewives of Alaska.
Yeah, these aren't my normal fare. These dogs are about as big as my dog's head. So it's the closest I'll ever come to owning cats.
You know, having met Bandit, I bet you they are about the size of his head.
They are. They literally are.
The biggest, most beautiful Alaska Malamute I've ever met, so...
Real dogs ride in trucks, not purses.
Although, Ilani, if you're listening, your dog rides in a purse and she is freaking cool.
No, I like the two little dogs that we have. I absolutely love them to death. I totally get the appeal of little dogs. We actually fostered one of them before she was adopted by the people she's with now that we're dog sitting for. And like, we got her, and like 2 days later, she had like an entire wardrobe. I'm like, I get it. This is fun.
Yeah, that's
it's
funny.
It's like having a baby, but you can put it in a kennel.
My goat has a wardrobe because it's been getting down to 20 below at night again. But well, and Aster, one of my dogs, she does have a wardrobe.
One of your dogs steals your goat's wardrobe.
Yes. Yes, we are a little strange. And
Alaska, where the goods are, where the
odds are good, but the goods are odd.
Yeah.
All right, so we're here to talk about Say Yes.
Season 7, episode 12.
So, I'm kind of saying meh.
I say yeah.
So tell me your rating first.
My rating was 3.8 faulty carnival rides. I was gonna say bags of chili mac, but Thomas Reese beat me to it.
Oh, right on. Which
yeah,
because Brian and Thomas were saying that the chili mac is actually really good.
Oh, I don't know about MREs, but I absolutely love chili mac.
Well, I may have to give it a try at some point in the future. Maybe not an MRE, maybe the real thing.
Yeah, I'd go for the real thing. And if not, I mean, even like deli chili mac, because when it sits there for a little while and it gets like a chewy crust over the top, it's delicious. It's horrible deliciousness.
So I have to tell you, my rating went down like twice while I was rewatching this episode.
Really?
Really. So I started out giving it the same rating that I gave last week, which was a 3.97. And I finally ended up at 3.572 out of 5 really squishy walkers.
That's really specific.
I didn't love it. I liked it, but I didn't love it.
Okay, I do have to say that I loved it on the first watch. And I didn't love it less on the second watch, but there were things that annoyed me more on the second watch.
Which I hope you're going to...
We'll get into that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually, when I compared this week with last week, I ended up liking last week better.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was listening to, I want to say, Walking Dead cast, and Karen and I think Mr. Blog is co-hosting with her this week. The Grembly Gunk is what was in Eugene's pocket at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
It was hanging out of his pocket. I didn't realize that. I thought it was like a weapon or something because I couldn't figure out what the heck it was.
I totally saw that. It was the rope stuffed animal type thingy. Something that I would give to my dogs to play with.
Right.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't last for very long.
No.
So, speaking of last week, it was viewed by 10.4 million people in live view, which is pretty good.
Solid. Yeah.
And it went up to 14.7 in live plus 3. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be at the 17 to 20 million mark once it gets to live plus 7.
Which is about on par for this season.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit down from the previous week, and I was bummed by that because I thought that last week's episode was a much better episode.
Yeah,
But,
definitely.
But we'll see. You know, hopefully I can find live plus 7 numbers. I haven't been very good about finding those lately, so I'll try to look for those next week when we talk.
And I just coast by with you as my co-host. So.
So the title Say Yes. Okay, so the obvious place that the title came from was Rick telling Jadis to say yes to the deal.
Yes, and I absolutely love that, where he like totally changed the terms right at the end. It was like, say yes.
I do have to say I appreciated Rick standing up to her.
Yes.
I'll get into the whole Jadis thing again, but I do have to say that I appreciated Rick growing a pair, and actually standing up to her when he negotiated with her. So, yeah. I also thought Say Yes was kind of about Rick and Michonne too, though, because someone on the Talking Dead kind of mentioned this as a wedding, and
Yvette.
And I
love Yvette.
She's funny. And I was thinking about, Say Yes is kind of the way that you talk to somebody about a proposal. So I felt like it was referring to that between Rick and Michonne as well.
Well, and beyond the whole wedding thing, there was the whole, I think you should lead, and she wanted him to say yes to that. Right. And when they had the talk in the car later,
don't even get me started on that, because we're going to talk about that.
And he wanted her to say yes to what he was saying. So there was a lot of say yes in this whole episode.
Yeah.
And then Sasha and Rosita say yes.
I'm going to talk about that too.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. There was a lot happened in this episode. This was a very Rick and Michonne heavy episode, but we saw some Gabriel, we saw some Taro, we saw some Rosita and Sasha.
And what is up with the mutant Judith? How did she go from being a baby to being that mutant giant toddler who's kind of a funny looking kid overnight?
Okay, no, so we actually, Di and I have a grandniece that, it looked a lot like her, and right around the same age, and I look at the grandniece and I'm like, yeah, she totally, I don't know, there's something in that first 18 months where it's like you're an infant and then you're walking, you know?
So you're implying that I'm calling a child that we are related to a mutant giant toddler. So hopefully if anybody on that side of the family is listening, that's not where I was going with that.
No, but I get it, because there was just that episode where
when Olivia was holding her and Negan was holding her.
Making spaghetti, and
it hasn't been that long.
Yeah. It's a casting thing, but it kind of throws off how it always throws me off how much time has passed, because shocker, Di and I don't have two-legged children. And so it's very hard for me to gauge how old a child is sometimes. I'm like, okay, that could be a 13-month-old, or it could be a 2-year-old.
I'm thinking
have
she's
no
more
idea.
Like an 18-month-old. That's where I put her. But I'm still saying she is a funny-looking mutant toddler. That is a weird-looking kid.
Really? I thought she was adorable. I mean, as children go.
It must be Shane's genetics.
Children without fur and paws.
All right, so writer and director. Writer was Matthew Negrete. I never say his name right. And Greg Nicotero directed. And I usually expect more of Greg, so I kind of wondered if maybe he wasn't directing just because it was so zombie heavy and so gag heavy.
Well, he actually, he posted something on, I think this is his Instagram, and it was the scene of the walker inside of the booth that gives out the tickets that, it says cash only. And it's really cool because it's very reminiscent of, a poster for Creepshow that he directed.
That is cool. Okay, that's super cool.
Yeah, I'll have to send it to you. I'll have to post to the page.
I was going to say, you need to put it on the page.
It's very, very reminiscent of it. It looks really cool side by side. And they've got a side by side of it. And
and the one thing that I love about Greg is he does great callbacks and he does great tributes.
And
so
this episode
credit there.
was full of them.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And that's on my list of stuff too.
Yeah, and so I love Stephen King. I love Creepshow, and now I love Greg Nicotero. You know, I love anything like horror related or scary movie related. So, you know, just this side by side, I will have to post to the page, and you guys will have to click on it. It is really, really cool.
Okay, I'm going to drag you off of The Walking Dead for just a second. So the first major derail is mine. Have you seen Get Out?
No, I have not.
I haven't either, but I was thinking of you and your deep love for horror movies, so...
it does kind of look like a kind of a Last House on the Left, or, that kind of an old school thriller, where, I guess there was a lot of in Last House on the Left, but it looks very suspenseful, and I love suspenseful movies, not just like horror. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the Saw movies. I'm not a fan of torture porn, things like that. I like Human Centipede and things. Nothing like that. I love old school suspense horror. They're actually. Did you know? They are making Misery into a stage play.
No way.
They are.
Okay, the place where she just totally messes up his feet, that's like one of the sickest things I've ever read. I
know. We were talking about how in the world are they going to do that on stage? That's just so messed up. So, well, I mean, again, calling back to Stephen King, I love that kind of stuff.
So speaking of torture porn, I'm reading Patricia Cornwell's second book investigating the Jack the Ripper murders. So there you go.
You would be disturbed at how many serial killer books that I have.
Oh no, I wouldn't, because you and I are very similar there.
Yeah. Have you listened to My Favorite Murder?
Not yet, but your other half told me about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a podcast and two chicks, and they banter back and forth like this and totally derail off topic. And it's super funny if you're looking for a podcast that you can just kind of maybe listen to in traffic or something. It's pretty funny, and they get facts wrong all the time, and they're like, if you're looking for a factual show, it's not here. Move along. We're just here to talk about really creepy, crazy stuff. So.
Oh my God. And okay, so one more off topic and then I'm going to pull us back to The Walking Dead. But this is a little nod to Brian and his deep, deep love for Star Wars. So I bought Carrie Fisher's last book, The Princess Diarist, on Audible. Oh my God. It is so funny. She reads it and it's hilarious. It's about her experience becoming Princess Leia and becoming an actress.
Huh.
At least the first part is. And if anybody's looking for an audiobook that will make you just belly laugh.
Well, and to have it read by her,
it's perfect.
That totally intrigues me now.
It's perfect. So, Brian, you totally need to listen to it if you haven't. It's really great.
Yeah, since you travel all the time and you make us podcasts all the time.
So I'm pulling us back to The Walking Dead, and I chose Madam Trash Heap as our character of the week this week. Not because I love her, but because I was trying to be kind. So the woman who plays Jadis is a woman named Pollyanna McIntosh, which I just think is a really interesting name. She was born in Scotland. She actually grew up in Portugal and the country of Colombia, and now it sounds like she's living in Scotland again.
Okay, and so when she was on The Talking Dead
she had a British accent.
Well, and we could not place her accent to save her life. And she's like, okay, so she's Scottish, but she's got a lot of other places that she's lived that she may have picked up a little bit of muddled accent.
Right. She's had career on stage and in film. She's got quite a bit of stuff on her IMDb page, but I'm going to be honest with you. The only stuff I really recognized besides The Walking Dead was a show called Hap and Leonard. And I've never watched it. I just recognize the name.
Yeah, I don't doesn't sound familiar at all.
And I looked through her list of credits, and I kind of wondered if maybe some of the credits weren't British credits, and so that's why they didn't look particularly familiar.
Oh, that could be it.
So if we've got any, I know we've got a listener in Germany. I'm sure we've got a few listeners in the UK. So if we've got anybody who knows more about Pollyanna McIntosh and you want to enlighten us, please post to our Facebook page.
It looks like she had a really big career in fashion.
Really?
Yeah. Let's see. Filmography, TV. Yeah, that's really all it says.
I will say, by the way, that her picture on IMDb is much more flattering. She actually looks like a normal human being.
You know, and she looked really good on The Talking Dead,
Except
even with
hair.
her crazy hair.
Yeah, the hair was scary.
But yeah. I'm actually on an interesting page. There's a movie, it looks like, that I kind of want to see her in. I can't tell what it is, but I think she did win a Chainsaw Award from Fangoria.
Okay, well, there you go. Since you are the queen of slasher films, you need to watch it and let us know if it's worth watching.
Yeah, okay. She was cast in the film The Woman, which she was nominated for Best Actress at the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards. So I will have to watch The Woman. I will have to find that one and watch it.
Maybe we can do a one-off in the off-season about that.
Yeah.
And I will force myself to watch it as well.
Yeah.
Gah.
Okay, it looks like the movie that I had found a page for was called Filth.
Oh, yeah, I saw that on her credits on IMDb as well.
Yeah, that kind of looks interesting.
All right, so you're going to take a little trip down Pollyanna McIntosh Lane.
I will have to get to know Madame Trashy better so I can stop judging her as Madame Trashy.
And you'll have to let us know if there's anything worthy of our attention.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
Right. Well, you don't have a choice. All right, so let's roll into the good, the bad, and the ugly. So go ahead and start with your good, since you liked it better than I did.
I did. I did like this. I liked the whole episode. I thought the whole episode was good. I will pick out one thing here in a second, but I just love Rick and Michonne's relationship and how they're so good together, but they trust each other to be independent. You know, they can make a plan and split up and trust each other generally to stick with the plan and come back, except for when Rick goes off hunting deer.
Well, and I have to say, there were some good moments of repartee, like when he said, well, what, do you just want to leave? Or she said that to him, and the other person responded, no, we've got this.
Yeah. And he's like, how many do you got? And she's like, I got 8 more. And he's like, I got 10. And, it was a fun little banter back and forth.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like either of them, like, I love Michonne because she doesn't need rescuing, you know, like.
Although she did in this episode need rescuing.
A little, but. And that is a really telling moment that, when Rick rolled under the dumpster, Glenn, when we all thought Rick was dead, but he was really under the dumpster and he was fine. I didn't expect her and they talked about it on The Talking Dead where she drops the sword, and it was that moment she had never planned for, him dying first type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, she needed rescuing in that moment, but if Rick hadn't, gone off script, then she would have been fine. But, she's a very capable woman, and with a show with a lot of capable women, she still stands out to me,
She's a serious badass.
Yeah, I like her. So my good was, when they went to, go divide up the herd, that scene. That whole banter back and forth where, I got 10 and I got 8. And so That was my good.
Okay.
I love those two's relationship, and how well they work together.
Very cool. And I definitely did think that there were some real moments of relationship. I know that a lot of people have been griping that, they just don't feel the connection between Rick and Michonne, and it's really not something that they saw, and blah, blah, blah. And those moments of sweet, steamy love, there were some good moments there.
There was. Just getting flashes of it. I mean, we literally saw like all 2 flashes in next week on.
Well, and then when she kind of throws herself at him after she realizes he's okay and he holds her, that was really a really nice moment too.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
so what was your good?
So my good was actually the carnival setting. I really liked it. I thought it was really different. It's something we haven't seen before. And for me, it was reminiscent of Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Oh.
Which, so it had the potential to be really creepy.
Yeah.
And I mean, carnivals are just kind of creepy anyway, I think. So
they are.
I thought it was a really good setting. I felt like they could have used it to greater effect. And I kind of wonder what's on the cutting room floor, because I bet there was a lot of stuff that happened at the carnival that didn't make it into the final cut.
Right. Right.
And the other thing is, I kind of wish that there was a little more explanation about why the military guys were there. I kind of got the feeling that maybe they were overrun, they were holing up there, or maybe they were trying to direct a group of civilians and they all ended up getting overrun.
Well, the carnival was actually on some school grounds. Did you notice that?
No, I actually didn't.
Okay, so I actually didn't notice that until I read, because part of my prep for the show is I go to the AMC page and I take the synopsis for the episode and I copy paste it in a Word document and then I write my notes on the scenes basically, and it specifically says that it's in a school grounds, and so I think that was sort of where the army just set up an outpost. They set all their supplies down and they had a building that could be locked down.
So do you think the carnival was there first and then the army came in and set up a post because it was a place where they could kind of hole up, or do you think there was stuff? Okay.
Because the carnival comes into town, they set up a fence around the area, and there's already some fences around schools.
Right.
They set up a fence around the area to, control people and everything, the flow of people. And, the zombie apocalypse breaks out, and the army's comes in and is like, hey, this is already a good place to hold up. Why don't we drop our supplies here and start, collecting survivors and, trying to ride this thing out. And something really bad went down. I think Rick and Michonne are right. And something really bad went down because we saw those walkers that had their hands tied.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I was kind of wondering about that when I was watching, and I thought, okay,
we have to come back to that somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we may or we may not. It just may be another one of those unanswered things, right?
Oh, that would kill me.
It'll be a Vatos kind of thing.
There was just so many of them stumbling out of that one tent, and they all had their hands tied. They didn't not tied behind their back. Their feet weren't tied. It was just hands tied in front of them, and that ooks me out, And then, of course, there was nobody inside of the building when they crashed through the ceiling. They landed on what the only thing that I can think of it is anyone who ever did gymnastics, the horse has the really big, thick pad underneath it. And that's what that looked like to me. That, it wasn't a wrestling pad or a tumbling mat or anything like that. It was that big, thick pad they put under you, when they know you're going to go down hard.
Well, and it was Rick and Michonne, and they're tough anyway, so it was all good.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, my good was the setting. I just thought it was a cool setting, and I thought it was different, and that was a nice change.
Yeah, so I will definitely have to post this creep show reference.
So, what's your bad?
My bad was actually the roof fall.
Oh, really?
Really? Okay, so Diane and I come from Alaska. We don't have a lot of flat top roofs here because what happens to them in the weather?
Right, because they're going to collapse. Yeah.
So after 3 years of like no maintenance or anything like that, you know, how many times is this? Like, this is like the 4th time they've fallen through a roof. You know, they're lucky it wasn't in a liquor store again and nobody got hurt.
Or they're lucky there weren't walkers inside.
Exactly. Or like you know, bunch of scrap metal at the bottom. I mean, who knows what they could have fallen on? It just happened to be a gymnastics mat. But, you know, how many times do we have to walk on soggy, flat rooftops to learn that we shouldn't walk on soggy, flat rooftops?
Well, I'm going to hold the soggy, flat rooftop for a minute because I've got something to say about it too, but it's not in this segment.
Okay. So that was my bad, is I was like, there was a couple of things in this episode where I'm like, we should know this by now. Like,
Yeah.
you know, this isn't our first rodeo. This is not our first carnival. So, you know.
But it is our first carnival. Well, so my bad was Rosita. I'm just getting so tired of her attitude.
Yeah, that's my part of my ugly.
And I kind of divvied it up into 3 things. So I didn't like
Gabriel thing.
Right. Well, so I didn't like the way she treated Tara. We open with her pulling total attitude with Tara. Then we see her berating Gabriel, and I really liked his response. You know, it was basically like, okay, you can blame me that you're still alive, but what are you going to do with that life?
Yeah.
And I thought, good for you, Gabriel.
Her whole berating him, you know, about like, Olivia would be live and Eugene would be here and everything would be fine. Well, you don't know that. Like, if you just killed Negan with the one dang bullet you had, the Saviors would have turned around and mowed you all down.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you don't know that everything would be fine if you put a bullet in Negan's head, everyone's just gonna go, oh, it's over. You know? No, that's not gonna happen, Rosita.
Definitely don't see that in the group of saviors that was with him in Alexandria at that point. I think there are a few who would give up, but definitely not the ones who were with him.
Yeah, no. Not at all.
Yeah, and you know, I guess the other thing that just really ticked me off was the ending. I mean, the whole suicide pact with Sasha. It made me really angry, and they talked about it on The Talking Dead. I think that Sasha and Rosita are going to totally screw something up, and one of them is going to be next week's special guest on The Talking Dead.
So this was my ugly. This scene was my ugly. The scene at Abraham's grave.
Okay, go for it, because we're leading right into your ugly, so that's perfect.
Yeah, so I'm of 2 minds of this. My frontal cortex is saying, don't do it. You're going to screw up the whole team's plans, and you're either going to get killed or you're going to get captured or it's going to screw up something. It's not going to go well. Like, we have learned that you cannot go off on your own and just do your own thing and have your own, you know, and, you know, on the other hand, I really, really like the Sasha and Rosita show. Like, those two together, like, if they could have had something other than Abraham in common, like, I think they would have really been, like, BFFs, and they would have been, you know, none of this, like, we gotta kill Negan, they'd be out braiding each other's hair, you know?
But you know what really sucks? Rosita is gonna get Sasha killed.
Is she?
You know, that to me would be the worst of the worst, because if one of them has to die in this ridiculous mission, I would rather it be Rosita, which means it's going to be Sasha.
Right. Yeah. I could totally see them throwing, and like, we have to deal with Rosita again getting someone killed and feeling crappy about it.
Well, you know, and that's the other thing that kind of pissed me off, is that she's grieving. It's obvious she's grieving. I know she's grieving, and she's having anger because of going through the stages of grief, but she's taking it out on everybody around her.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, you could see it with her, with Father Gabriel, where she was trying to push the blame off of herself, but she just, it just kept sticking, you know, like it was not working for her. But yeah, so that was my, and what's funny in that scene is the first thing I noticed about Sasha, and you didn't see the full thing, but she's wearing a necklace.
She's wearing the necklace. I know. I totally thought of that.
Yeah, she's totally wearing the necklace. And I can't wait until Rosita sees it.
So maybe the cluster that is going to turn into this mission is that Rosita sees the necklace, freaks out, and kills Sasha.
I kind of hope this becomes a Carol at Terminus where, like, they just freaking get lost in the woods or something and show up at the end of the battle.
Oh my God, that would be really funny.
Save, you know, like, I don't know, save Father Gabriel or something, you know, like, I just hope it's them just walking around the woods arguing for, like, the next 3 episodes.
Okay, that would be awesome. I could totally get into that.
But so I love it and I hate it. I absolutely think it is the wrong decision to make, you know, me being a Monday morning quarterback. But on the other hand, one, I get where both of them are coming from. And two, I kind of like the extra little storyline, you know, and maybe Sasha gets her yayas out and she stops being such a cranky pants, you know, and, you know, puts on a pair of yoga pants instead of those tight pants like we talked about.
You're right. She's got a yeast infection.
She does.
Rob, I apologize in advance because I'm making it a little less clean, but she needs some diflucan and she needs to get laid. Oh my God, that woman, she's miserable.
Or at least like a hot bubble bath and a glass of wine.
After the diflucan.
After the diflucan, yeah. Bubble baths and alcohol don't go well with infections. We're awful.
We are awful.
So, did you have an ugly?
Well, so I had a good ugly and a bad ugly.
Oh, good.
So my good ugly was all the callbacks, and actually falling through the roof was the callback to season 4, episode 1, when the walkers fell through the roof at the big stop.
Yes.
So I totally get the whole, can we please learn not to walk on rotten roofs thing, but it was a good callback.
Yeah.
And there were a couple other callbacks. Did you notice that the van that Rick and Michonne were driving at the beginning was the van that Eugene rolled up in after Tara was hurt at the warehouse, and he was like, "Get in!"
I didn't.
It had that kind of stylized Thunderbird on the side of it.
Huh.
So same van.
And the car that they were pushing, that they got trapped inside of with the walkers all around it, that was very reminiscent of something that Rick said later, that when Rick was in the tank and Glenn saved him.
So totally. And I thought that them coming up out of the top of that car was a total callback to Rick coming up out of the top of the tank. And
then later on he talks about it, that Glenn was saving me from the beginning and I couldn't save him. Yeah.
So I thought the callbacks were in this episode were really cool, and there were probably a lot more, but those were the ones that really stuck out for me.
Well, Rick mentioned that he owed Michonne a deer when she went to go hunt the deer, and he wakes up and he's like, you know, what's going on? And she's like, it was a deer. And he's like, oh yeah, I kind of owe you one, don't I? You know, from...
Now, when was that?
When he fell asleep in the car.
No, but when does he owe her a deer? I'm not remembering that.
I didn't remember it either, so I'm going to have to go back and check, but it was something about outside the gates of Alexandria. Huh. They mentioned something about outside the gates of Alexandria, I owe you a deer.
Huh.
And so, yeah, there was a obvious callback there that even they referenced. And then so that's where Rick gets himself in trouble, is trying to get her that deer.
Right.
And of course all the walkers are around. I'm like, you shoot that deer and it's just walker meat at that point, you know?
So I have some more stuff to say about the deer, but I'm going to save it for writing potpourri.
Okay.
So my ugly bad, I actually created a new category just for tonight. Lame! So, Michonne having her little breakdown and then catching the sword mid-air when Rick throws it at her. Lame.
Oh, I'm so not on board with that.
Jadis, still totally lame.
Lame. Yes.
Rick's death, totally not convinced. Totally did not believe that Rick was dead. Lame!
Although I still think it's funny that it's like, he's under the dumpster with Lynn.
Right. But I just, and those were moments where, at first I was like, okay, I'll rate this fairly high because it was pretty good. And compared to the Garbage Pail Kids episode, it was really good. And then, as I watched those moments where internally I was just going, lame, I that's what brought my rating down as I rewatched this episode tonight.
Okay, so, and the whole Rick fake out thing,
yeah.
I was like, he totally Rick-rolled us. Never gonna give you up. Gonna let you down.
Oh my god, that is really funny.
I've had that song stuck in my head, and now it's stuck in all of yours. You're welcome.
It could be worse, and don't even go there, because I know what song you're thinking about now.
We're on Easy Street.
Oh my god, if I never hear that song again. I swear to god, if they play that one more time at the Savior's compound, that's when I'm gonna jump ship. I don't care how many heads Negan bashes in. I can't hear Easy Street one more time.
Okay, so they need to make it on a loop, just that intro beginning, as they're pulling away from Negan's battered dead body. I should direct.
Well, give Greg a call. He needs a break every now and then.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, do you smell that funny smelling stuff?
That is rotting potpourri.
So what you got in your rotting potpourri?
I absolutely love Tara. I just... I want to be friends with Tara in real life. Not the actress who plays with Tara. I want Tara.
Even if she does talk to malignant, bloated babies.
But so this entire, since she's gone to Oceanside and everything, the whole will she, won't she, give up her secret. And even if she doesn't give up the secret, will she go back on her own? And, blah, blah, blah. It's time, for as much as I've been saying, I'm so proud of her for keeping the secret. I'm really proud of her, not coming back and being like, oh my God, guys, I have the coolest thing, Well,
and she's obviously going to give it up at the end.
She is, but I think she's doing it in the right way. She's doing it in the exact way I would pull Rick aside and be like, look, here's the deal. And nobody else is going with me because you all get killed. I'm going to go alone, but I wanted you to know where I am in case I don't come back or, I think it's good to pull the de facto leader aside and, this is my thing, but I'm telling you.
Do you think that's how she's going to do it?
Yes. Because I really think that she's got to be the only one that can go. I mean, I think somebody might go with her to a point, and then she has to go on her own, and that person just has to wait an allotted amount of time, whether she comes back with guns or they have to turn around and go back to Alexandria and just be like, okay, she's either dead or she's living in Oceanside. That's the risk we took.
Okay, I know we talked about this a little bit last time, but do you think we'll see Heath again?
Yes.
You do?
I do.
Okay. Bold prediction.
I don't know when and I don't know where, but I have a hard time thinking that we're not going to get at least a Lizzie in the barn moment,
Okay.
Yeah.
Or the other thing is, if we don't see Heath again, who takes Heath's role in the comic?
Yeah.
Which will be something to think about. It
better not be Eugene.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going to happen with Eugene and his grumbly gunk.
Well, Tara and Sasha don't want to get caught alive, but what are the odds of them not being able to put a bullet in themselves or each other when the time comes? They know it's a one-way ticket, and are they going to be able to pull the trigger? Are they going to have the ability to? I mean, what if you get caught with an empty magazine?
Well, all I have to say is that Sasha better be punching Rosita's ticket. So I have to say that the little moment of catching the Saviors golfing was pretty funny. And the thing that I really loved was when they were griping about Fat Joey, and they were basically if I ever had
one more thing about Fat Joe, I did not catch that until my second watch, because I was like, are these just some random dudes out playing golf? And then they were like, if I have to hear about Fat Joe one more time, I was like, oh, those are Saviors.
That was so funny.
And that's where Rick and Michonne got their beer, I figured out.
Their beer and pretzels.
Yeah, well, I caught the pretzels, but later on that night when they were eating MREs, they were drinking beer, and I'm like, wait, they had beer on hand with MREs?
Well, they were soldiers after all.
I guess. So, yeah, that was pretty funny.
So, what else do you have in your potpourri?
So the whole Rick and Michonne talk in the car on the way home.
Yeah.
And
sorry, that was another thing where I was like, lame!
It was necessary, though, because her reaction when she thought he was dead, she was just ready to give up. And that's not an option anymore. Like he said, it's bigger than you and I. It's, for everyone's survival at this point.
Okay, I totally get where you're coming from, but I can live without you and you can live without me is not a great end to a 3-day sexcapade.
Yeah, when he was like, I can live without you, I was like, oh, yeah, no, that's not helping this conversation. Like you can say, you can go on without me, but then to be like, and I can go on without you. No.
He could have finessed it a little better, I think.
Yeah.
So presentation, lame.
I think I think the hot and heavy is over, and they're just going to be spooning tonight on their mattressless beds. Did you get the feeling in the beginning of the episode that he's like 1.5 more days?
Right. Oh, no, he was totally like, let's just hang out a little bit longer.
And when they found the MREs, and he's like, we get one more day, we don't have to do this quick. He was trying to drag that out so badly. And I know somebody on The Talking Dead made the point that, they know what is coming. They know that people are going to die.
Well, and they just haven't had time together as a couple. I mean, someone else made that point too.
Yeah. And honestly, I almost kind of even got the feeling where I was thinking that, I feel like if Michonne would have just said the words, if she would have just been like, let's not go back, I think Judith and Carl would have grown up without a daddy.
No, I don't think that's quite true.
I kind of got the feeling that those two were ready to just keep on driving.
But I think they might have extended their vacation quite a bit longer.
You mean their sexcation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of Rick and Michonne, and you saw this in The Talking Dead, and I'm sure most of our listeners did too, but I really enjoyed another callback. So they said specifically that Greg Nicotero chose the scene where they were eating together and it was lit up by candles to look like a scene from 16 Candles, which I thought was really neat because I remember that movie and love that movie dearly from my teen years.
Yeah, my other half and I were watching The Talking Dead, and that came up where it's like throwback to a 1980 movie, and he was like, he kind of looked at the screen all puzzled, and I looked up and I was like, oh, it's 16 Candles.
That was totally the way I was too.
Every girl who had a crush on Jake went, oh.
But some of us were smart and we knew that Ducky was the real deal.
That was not 16
Candles.
Candles.
You're right, that's Pretty in Pink.
That was Pretty Pink.
Oh, all Molly Ringwald movies blend together.
Okay, yeah, I would have totally chose Ducky over Blaine. Yeah.
so funny. Okay, so the symbolism of the deer, totally veering away from Molly Ringwald. So it's like, why do deer keep showing up, right? Because we've got Carl getting shot after being fascinated by the deer. We've got Mika and Carol in the episode where Lizzie and Mika die, like pausing in front of a deer, and Mika can't shoot the deer. And now we've got this. So these deer keep showing up and they're almost ghostly, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, there's got to be some symbolism. So I looked it up and I thought these were kind of cool. There's a bunch of different stuff, but these are the ones that I pulled. So deer symbolize our own innocence and our desire to be nurtured and protected, which I thought was really appropriate given the way that they were trying to show the relationship between Carl, that was weird, between Rick and Michonne.
No, and when you said that, I was thinking that to be nurtured and everything, that when the flashback to Lizzie and the flashback to Carl, like,
nurtured and protected.
They were children. They need to be protected and nurtured, you know?
And the other thing is that, and I think, you know, this certainly bodes well for Rick and Michonne, but it is the zombie apocalypse after all. The Buddhist meaning of deer, the Buddhist symbolism of deer is harmony, happiness, peace, and longevity. Well,
and aren't they a symbol of Diana the Huntress?
They are. Yep, they are.
and Diana does have her katana.
That's right. Although it could just as easily be Carl and Drag with his crossbow. Or not Carl, Daryl. God, I keep obsessing about Carl tonight for some reason. That's kind of creepy.
Funny. We don't even see Carl in the next week on.
No, we don't.
Nope. It is the Carol show.
I know. And, you know, so I don't know if I've got anything else in Rotting Potpourri. Oh, I have to say that I did think that the one line by Jadis where she looks at Rick and she says, 9 and the cat back was really funny. I really liked that.
And and it's funny because she kind of, for me, from what they were saying before that, her and the other chick that was with Jadis, and they're clipped and they you know, their weird speech.
Yeah.
When Jadis said that, 9 and the cat back, not like 9 and cat back. You know, she said 9.
She put together almost a sentence.
Yeah, it was like, it sounds like she broke character just to get her point across.
Well, and did you notice that right after that, Michonne was mocking her to Rick? I didn't. Very subtle, but it was so funny. So Michonne looks at Rick and she's kind of telling him that, you know, he managed to buy more time. And she says, soon, in a few more days. And she kind of intones it the way that Jadis does. So it was totally her mocking Jadis, and it was very funny.
Good for her. That's hilarious.
So I don't have much else on my potpourri, but it sounds like you do.
I just had one more thing that I actually was like the first thing that I wrote at the very, very beginning of the episode when they're going through all of the places looking for anything and everything. Right. They're, you know, basically, I mean, it comes down to you're burglarizing places, and these guys need a lesson in burglary. So when
you mean they're not subtle?
Oh, no, they don't know how to do it efficiently. Like, not that, like, I have any experience, but I've watched enough crime shows to know that when you are tossing a dresser, what do? You pull the bottom drawer out, you search it. You pull the next drawer out, you search it. You don't, like, open the top one, search it, close it. Open the next one, search it, close. No, that wastes time. You go from the bottom, and that way you don't have to close them, and then you know, or your partner knows, that you have gone through that already.
All right, so you guys, now you know my little sister is a slasher freak and the perfect burglar.
Oh, I'm a ninja. I just need to perfect my parkour and watch out.
Oh my god, that is really funny.
I watch way too much. I know so much stupid knowledge from TV that, like, will only serve me in,
you know, we're pathetic.
It will never happen.
We're pathetic. So you
Yeah.
watch too much TV, and I just watch The Walking Dead over and over and over. Well, the only other thing I really had was that, okay, so, once again, the teaser for next week looks really good, and I'm really excited because it looks like Carol is back.
We have Carol back.
So I'm hoping that they don't let us down.
No, yeah, it not only looks like we have Carol back, it looks like we have Kingdom on board.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm kind of worried because I think that we have Kingdom on board because something bad happens. Maybe that's the special guest on The Talking Dead next week. But,
well, next week's episode is called Bury Me Here. And did you see the grave? That's next to Carol's house.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so it looks like there's a grave dug next to Carol's house with a sign that says "Bury Me Here," and something's gonna happen. It's
God, who's gonna die? Is it gonna be Ezekiel, Carol, or Benjamin?
It's gonna push Carol over the edge, and Carol's gonna go off on her own. She's gonna find Morgan. Either her and Morgan gonna go off, or she's gonna go off without Morgan, and Ezekiel's gonna freak out that they're both gone, go to Carol's place and find this grave that says "Bury Me Here," and I think he's like, yeah, we need to do something. So,
well, that's gonna be pretty cool.
Talking Dead does have a special guest member next weekend of the cast.
Yes, it does.
Not that always means something, but it hasn't meant something in a while, so
it probably means something now.
Yeah. But I'm so glad to see Carol coming back, and I said it before I hope that it kind of happens with Sasha and Rosita, where they kind of do a terminus and come in and kind of save the day a little. But the next week on with Carol and doing her badass thing,
right?
It was like terminus Carol, and I'm like,
yeah, she really does look incredibly hardened and determined. So it'll be cool.
I'm gonna kill 5 walkers. 9.
Well, she's gonna have to kill 9 because Michonne got her 8. So. So just some feedback from the page. Thomas O'Mara wrote on the page that Christian Serratos, who plays Rosita, is pregnant, could explain why she's threatening to go off on her own, gives the writers a chance to leave her out of a couple of episodes after she gives birth, if she's not dead already. And he put up a couple of really funny memes. So it's Rosita holding the bullet and says, she said bullet, Eugene, not baby. And then Maury Povich's face going, Tom, you are not the father. Let's see, we've got Thomas Reese's review of this episode. Love the episode. I'm giving it 4 Chili Mac MREs. Thank God things are escalating quickly. I was afraid all 8 episodes were going to be set up, but it looks like we'll get a little action soon. Everything about this episode was solid except the Rick fake out and the garbage pail kids. And then Brian says, the Chili Mac MREs are the best, by the way. And then Cody Redbeard Stradley says, I have to agree. I've been very bored with this half of the season. Last night's episode was a little improvement. I'm hoping for a big season finale, hopefully not another cliffhanger.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna see full-on all-out war, but, I don't think they'll be foolish enough to leave as big a cliffhanger as they did at the end of season 6.
No, definitely not. No. Yeah, it won't be. I think it'll be like when they go to face off. I think it'll be, not like is that person dead? Are they not dead? Well, who's going to die? It's going to be, we know a whole bunch of people are going to die. Let's get ready to rumble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just a couple more things before we go. So I don't know if you saw it, but I posted tonight that one of our fellow hosts from Southgate Media is sick. Jesse Jackson, who does the Set Listing Bruce podcast, which is a Bruce Springsteen podcast, he's been sick. So I just want to say that we really send all of our best to him. He's kind of going through a tough time right now, but his attitude is great. He's very positive and just a really neat individual. So, folks, if you're out there thinking about anybody else, send some good thoughts to Jesse. And if you like Bruce Springsteen, check out his podcast.
Yes, excellent.
The other thing is I was seeing ads with this Walking Dead that you can binge the first season of Preacher on AMC's website.
Gee, what does that tie into?
So, if you're interested in Preacher and you kind of want to find out what all the fuss is about, because Marnell and I think it's an amazing show.
And you like listening to us ramble on about stuff other than the thing we're talking about.
I just would strongly encourage people to binge Preacher.
Yeah.
It's a great show, and unfortunately it doesn't have the following that Walking Dead does, and I actually think it's a deserving show.
Definitely.
Oh my gosh, my sled dogs are starting to howl.
Aww.
Yeah, good dogs.
So sweet.
All right, I guess that means I'm supposed to wrap it up, huh?
Sure.
Okay, so let's just remember.
And let's take it one dead day at a time.
Shit, we didn't do as good as we did last week.
Really? That one was better.
All right, everybody, take care.
Good night.
Good night.